You argue, or ask the question rather, is this crypto's thimble winter? Do you think it is?
Yeah. So I got a little, we have talked about crypto winters a few times in the past, and I got carried away with the winter metaphor. And in Norse mythology, the thimble winter is the final disastrous winter before Ragnarok, the end of all things. Crypto, it's a really weird space, right? If you ask how is Bitcoin value compared to fundamentals, well, what fundamentals? It's kind of all vibes, and it has bounced back several times from big declines because people had faith in it, and because it was, there was a lot of ideology behind it. But this time looks different. This time, a lot of the recent rise has been driven by Strategy Inc. and other crypto hoarders. A lot of it has been political, associated with Donald Trump. Everyone is comparing the price now to what happened when he won the election, and those things are harder. The kind of sentimental or almost mystical attachment that people have had to Bitcoin itself probably doesn't apply to shares and strategy. Probably doesn't, and the kind of libertarian ideology that supported Bitcoin doesn't really apply now that it's largely a political creation, and it's in some ways tied to what you think Trump's future prospects are. So this is different.
I think about this a lot, Professor Krugman, and I think about supply demand, certainly when it comes to trades in assets. I'm not quite sure what you call cryptocurrencies. I think we still struggle with what it really is. Having said that, if President Trump wasn't in the White House, what's your view on whether or not crypto would be, here around $64,000? Would it be a very different trade potentially?
Well, it might be. I don't think it would have gotten up to 125,000 or thereabouts without his election. It's possible that the day of reckoning might have waited longer. I mean, there was in some ways, the very prominence of crypto, the huge attention given to it, all of the hype about this is a crypto-friendly White House has in some ways, led to a big run-up, but also focused people's minds. And I think there's a lot more. So what is this actually for anyway? Mm-hmm. And there's also, the Sell America trade, the debasement trade, which, among other things, first of all, should have benefited Bitcoin if it was the kind of refuge asset that people had sold it as, but also the fact that a lot of people sold Bitcoin as being the next gold, and it turns out that in the face of doubts about stability, doubts about politics, the next gold turns out to be gold, not Bitcoin. I think it's a big wake-up for people that maybe this isn't actually going to be an enduring asset. So it's really, really hard. If you ask when people make price forecasts for Bitcoin, I always wonder on what basis.
Yeah.
It's not like you can do a price earnings ratio on this thing because there's no earnings, no services. It's all just pure faith. But it does feel like we're seeing a real crisis of faith right now.
What would stop this administration, in your view, from coming in and bailing out the industry? I mean, the industry spent a lot in 2024 to get pro-crypto politicians elected. It was successful in many different cases, particularly in the Senate race in Ohio, unseating Sherrod Brown. Some Republicans want Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, to buy Bitcoin by selling some of the U.S.'s gold reserves. When asked whether the U.S. Treasury has the ability to bail out Bitcoin, the Treasury Secretary said this week he doesn't have the authority to buy Bitcoin with tax dollars. Could the president do that?
Well, yeah. I mean, in general, Scott Bessent, his word is not good as gold, let's say, on these things, and they could. But I would say, look at the parallel. The U.S. spent a really fairly limited sum in bailing out Milei in Argentina. Relatively, it's a tiny sum compared with what it would take to bail out Bitcoin. And there was a firestorm of outrage over it. Not enough to stop them from doing it, but enough to really give pause. If they tried to step in and bail out this industry, especially given all the stories about crypto as a channel of corruption, all the stories about the Trump family being enriched through crypto, all of the buying of politicians, the pardons of crypto criminals, I think the political backlash would be huge. Now, maybe the crypto industry has spent enough money to overrule all of that, but I think it's highly questionable.
One thing I think about, Professor Krugman, is transparency to investors. It's something we talk about with everything. It's one of the things we're going through with private credit, right? It's why, although the U.S. market, financial markets may not be perfect, it is why it's in many ways the gold standard for global investors. Having said that, on that transparency issue, does it make sense, as we look at what's going on in crypto, that we really have a full understanding of the White House's exposure, the president and his family, to cryptocurrencies, to understand what's at stake for them personally, politically, financially, especially as policies unwind, and to understand maybe how that might be, from a supply-demand metric, and all that entails, supporting this market, at least up until late?
Yeah, I mean, people are just making guesses at how much the Trump family is exposed. And other government officials, by the way. Let's not forget that the Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, his firm was very close to Tether, which is very much in the crypto business, and particularly seems to be used for a lot of the unsavory aspects of that business. But it's certainly a significant exposure, and there's a kind of shadow exposure in the sense that the crypto industry has been throwing a lot of money, not just at campaign contributions, but at the presidential family directly. So another crypto winter would be financially harmful to the first family. But again, that's all sort of taken as a given, that there's a stake there. I don't even know if it's a lack of transparency. We all know that there's a large personal financial stake in how crypto does. The question is, can they really get away with it? I mean, there's lots of things have been gotten away with, but this is the kind of thing that really does get voters enraged. This is the kind of thing that leads to a lot of yelling at Republican members of Congress in town halls. So I'm not sure that this is something that they're going to be able to do, particularly because this is big, right? Crypto is still, even with the recent fall, it's still $2.5 trillion asset class. It takes a lot of money to bail that out.
We should point out on Howard Lutnick, his sons Brandon and Kyle now serve as chief executive and executive vice chairman of, respectively, of Cantor Fitzgerald, and that Howard Lutnick did divest to comply with ethics agreement he signed when he joined President Trump's cabinet. So we just wanted to kind of put that out there. Yeah,
that's right. I mean, he's not personally, but If my relatives were very involved in a business, people would not say that I had fully disconnected myself from it.
Hey, Professor, before we let you go, the promise of Bitcoin was this decentralized currency that would flow easily across borders, allow people to exchange value, and it would be, not tied to a single government entity. In your view, does Bitcoin have any value?
No, or let me give a slight qualification. The places where Bitcoin has actually been useful to people, it's largely used for essentially criminal enterprise of some kind, but not all crimes are the same. And I will say that if you're trying to smuggle money out of Iran or something like that, then Bitcoin is a way around capital controls. But it's also a way, it's also a way that criminals who install malware on your computer and then demand a ransom collect the money. In terms of the original idea that this was actually a superior form of money, it's a total bust. And it's a 17-year-old bust. That's the thing that gets to me. This is not an idea of the future. This is not a cutting-edge technology. This is something that is only slightly younger than the first iPhone, right? And if it hasn't made any inroads as an actual legitimate means of payment in 17 years, then clearly it wasn't a great idea to start with.